Wow. Wow. Emerging Light. That's the name they picked for themselves. Emerging Light. I like that. I like that. 7-year-old boy is out in the hallway at a church staring up at a plaque filled with names. Minister walks over and kid asks the minister, so what is this? Minister goes, this is the names of all the folks who have died who were in our service. Little kid gets real quiet. Goes, which one, the 9:30 or the 11? The artistic adventure of creating a life. Artistry is an astounding thing. And let's start with one of my favorite words, inspiration, which has the history of coming from the Latin inspire, which means to breathe life into. And specifically, what they were speaking about was God breathing life into humans and beings and everything. And that was called an inspiration, to breathe life into. Each of us, a divine being, because each of us were inspired by the divine force that breathed life into us. Each of us, a creation of God. And given the power to then take that creation and mold it into our own. Turn it into something that shines, that is beautiful, that has light, that has love. We get to do that. We are that artistry. And one of the beauties of science of mind is that it actually gives us the tools we need to create the artistry that is our personal life. To really take on a level of responsibility that is beyond what most people even are interested in, don't even want to hear about. I was at a Center for Spiritual Living in Asheville, where I was the music director, and we were auditioning drummers. And a drummer comes in and goes, so what are you guys about here? And I said, well, we are about being the power of God within ourselves, having that within ourselves so that we can shine out. But to do that, we have to take full responsibility for our lives. And he screamed at me, he says, there is no way I am taking responsibility for what's happened to me in my life, and ran out of there so fast. I'd never seen anything like it. So this teaching is not for everyone. This teaching is for those who want to reach higher. And I want to be clear that there is a difference between responsibility and blame. Because most of the time, when people start talking about responsibility, what they're really talking about is blame. Blaming themselves or blaming somebody for the circumstances of their lives. And that is not what I'm talking about. I am talking about looking at your life like a canvas, or like a piece of music, or like a sculpture, or whatever artistry excites you the most. And then, like Michelangelo did with the David, seeing the finished product of who you have come here to be, and then chipping away at yourself, piece by piece, until that brilliance that you have come here to be shines through. Trish was up here saying that she is clear that she has not fully embodied health, that what she has embodied is that coughs linger. Now, it would be easy to say, she has nothing to do with that. It's a cough. Everybody gets that. But here she is taking that level of responsibility because that's the only way you get to have the results that we're after here. The only way you get to create the beautiful artistry of your life, the way you envision it, is to be responsible for every little bit of it, whether it looks like you are or not. The only way we get there is by knowing ourselves to be healthy, whole, complete, not just thinking of ourselves that way, but knowing it, and knowing it on an incredibly deep level. I had an experience of this just this past week. On Tuesday, my wife reminded me that we had a bill due Thursday that we did not have the money to pay. And so I decided it was another opportunity to prove science of mind. It was another chance to have something come about that we had no way of knowing how that was going to happen. I don't get paid till next Monday. She didn't get paid till next Friday. We had no other income that we knew about coming in, and yet this was an opportunity to know that that bill got handled. And I noticed as I sat and in that knowing that there were times during the day that what would happen is that thoughts would pop into my head like, well, how could this come about? And I would try to strategize around it. And then I'd have to catch myself and go, no, don't do that. Get back to the place of just knowing. Because that's what I've been practicing for years and years and years, knowing that I don't have to do anything for this money to show up. Except know that if I don't know and if I doubt at all, if I put any sort of color and brush in there that is not exactly the vision of what I'm trying to get to, then that money's not showing up, that I really need to know. And then sure enough, Thursday morning I looked at our bank account and it was full of money because our tax return had come in. Now, what is fascinating about this is I just sent our tax return in 3 days earlier. And normally, like last year, it took 6 weeks to get our return. This was 3 days. Now, I don't know about you, but I call that a miracle. But it took me chipping away at the knowingness and not letting anything else abide. It is really easy for us to let other parts of our being, our voices, remind us that what's normal is that, a cough lingers. What normal is that, you have to go search for a job to find it. It certainly won't show up on your lap. What's normal is that as you get older, health deteriorates. It is really easy to buy into that, and when we do, that's the results we get. What's normal is that, well, I have to set up my work so I can fit this thing in, rather than knowing that if this is what I want, of course life will develop around that. I have seen too many times in my life. Once I have known what I want, once I have zeroed in on the vision and know that that's it, how life cooperates in just, forming around it. And yet, too many times, we think it's our logistical job to make something happen. And in that making, really lose our chance to prove the science of mind. Really lose our chance to have consciousness step up beyond the science, beyond what's possible, into something that is absolutely miraculous. Because the fact we are alive is miraculous in the first place. The fact we even exist is a miracle. Because science has proven over and over again that not enough carbon could be created randomly for life to exist. So there's something built into the fabric, an intelligence that has led to more carbon appearing than is possible. More physicists started out as atheists and have gained a sense of the divine, of God, of whatever they want to call it, whatever you want to call it, because of what they have found through science. What they have found in terms of how the math doesn't work. That something is arising here. Something is going on here that is greater than anything, and it is actually built into our DNA. It's actually built into us. And this leads me to the next part of my talk, which has to do with the adventure. Something I learned a long time ago and actually had forgotten about, so I was so happy when I remembered, is that life has a way of bringing to us our next challenge, our next opportunity for evolution. Now that opportunity and challenge shows up one of two ways: consciously or unconsciously. Now what I notice is if we do not pick a challenge that is large enough to truly challenge us, to keep our focus, to keep us going in the keep us larger than ourselves on something, then our soul or our DNA or whatever is built into us that wants that next challenge to help us evolve, it will do it to our bodies. It will turn it into our lack of survival, our problems with survival. Like I found that the best way to not have to worry about survival is to have my eye on a larger ball, to have my eye on a larger vision, to have my eye on creating something that may look beyond possible to me. That by doing so, again, the universe organizes to support me going after this thing that is larger than myself, that creates this incredible adventure, and then going after this adventure, everything seems to take care of itself. Seems to fall into line with the adventure. But if I don't have one, then life will create one for me. I am really clear that it was not having one that wound me up in the hospital with doctors telling me I had 3 days to live. That what it took was me getting a larger vision. That it's not just good enough to want to live. That you need to live for something. And that something needs to be larger than you. Because it's beautiful, and it's big, and it's magnificent, and it creates something extraordinary. I have some statistics for you. Brought some information today because I was interested in this and I wanted to see what I had here on this. Okay. The average flu season, the general population has a rate of between 5 to 10% that catches the flu. Pro football players have almost a 0 rate of catching the flu. They're too busy playing football. The norovirus at the Winter Olympics in South Korea was an epidemic. There were 128 staff members inside the Olympic Village who caught it. All right? There were 3,000 athletes there from 92 countries, and only 2 caught the norovirus. An epidemic in South Korea, and out of 3,000, 2. 128 of the staff from South Korea in the village, 2. They're too focused on winning a medal. They don't have time for that. And the two that did catch it got better so fast beyond belief to anybody that they actually got to compete anyway. All right? Jack LaLanne. How many of you remember Jack LaLanne? At 70 years of age, gets handcuffed behind his back, thrown into the water, hooked up to 70 boats with 70 people in them, and pulls it 1.5 miles. I don't think at 95, he released his 11th book. And then I guess he thought he was done because he died at 96. But at 95, he was still pumping away. Didn't have time to get sick. He had too much to show and stand for and being a model. Now, there are many experts in the world who will say, well, that's because they're all athletic and it's their immune system because they're athletes. That's why they have better percentages than the rest of the population when it comes to this aging stuff and getting sick stuff. So I have some more statistics for you. Ellen DeGeneres went 11 years on a TV show that was 5 days a week without missing a single episode. But she isn't the best at this. Oprah Winfrey went 25 years without missing an episode. That was 4,561 episodes without missing one, 5 days a week. She had something that needed doing. She made sure she was there to do it. Okay? Now let me put that into some context for you. The baseball player who holds the record for playing the longest amount of games in a row without missing one is Cal Ripken Jr. of the Baltimore Orioles. He went 16 years and only 2,632 consecutive games. Oprah did better. Not very athletic. So I think what we're talking about here is purpose. Having a greater purpose. Having a reason for being that is greater than ourselves. That's what this is about. And when we do that, miracles occur. Stephen Hawkins had Lou Gehrig's disease. No one before him had ever lived 3 years with that disease. Never made it 3 years. He lived to 76. Why? Purpose. He had something to do. He had something to get done. The artistic adventure of creating your life is based on purpose. Now, we all have challenges. Anybody here not have a challenge in their life of one sort or another? Okay. How many of you have challenges that you chose? And how many don't? Have challenges you didn't choose? Bigger game. You want to get rid of those challenges you didn't choose, pick an even bigger game. You can use the reasoning of, I don't feel good, I'm too old, I'm too young, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy. All those things that anybody can say. But if you want to see what it's like to live energized, bigger game, bigger purpose, something beyond yourself that lifts you up. Every single one of you here has come into life with a special gift that is yours to give to life. Go out there and do that. Find your place. There's not one person sitting in this room that doesn't have a gift to contribute, no matter what your age, no matter what your circumstance. And it is that makes things go away. One of the most fun things around here has been watching Trish. When I first arrived, she had problems with her shoulders. She had problems with her knees. And I asked her what she wanted to do. And she told me. And she started doing it. And she is And she like dances around this place. Dance, dance, dance. You should watch Trish dance around on those knees that she was so wanting to get fixed, and now she can't even remember why she wanted them fixed. Because she's dancing around here, doing what she loves doing, serving you guys. And she loves doing it. Each of us has it within ourselves to do something magnificent. We may not see it right now. We may not know it. But it's worth going to bat for what you love. Whatever it is, what you love. And if it seems silly, don't worry about it. As long as it gets you to strive to something larger than yourself. Give yourself the challenges, because if you don't, life will do it for you. And I think you'd rather have you choose it. We have free will. We want to use it. We want to lift ourselves up to something magnificent. There's lots to be done in this world. There's lots of challenges to take on. Find those that excite you and do them. Thank you. I love you very much. All right, take out what you're going to give. Hold it in your hand. This is the power of God. This is how you create a greater financial base for yourself. You take it out and you hold it in your hand. This isn't just giving money. This is giving your energy. This is blowing life, breathing life into an inspiration that is abundant. There is something magnificent here for all of us. When we give, we are breathing life into the inspiration that is our own prosperity. The more you give, the bigger the breath, the more that returns. Let's read this aloud. God is the source of all supply. Money is God in action. What you give, you receive multiplied abundantly. All that God is, I am. And so it is.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God.